Welcome to the Mukilteo Football Show. My name is Miles. The John Madden Thanksgiving celebration. Great day. I was really excited to hear that this will be always. That it's just always going to be the Madden day. All three networks talked about it, and it was really cool. You know, just being with your family, football, food, all the F's. Though, the morning for me started with coffee and soccer. It was so weird. It was watching the World Cup this morning on Thanksgiving. Just really weird with the World Cup in Qatar this year. And, I watched Portugal, Ghana. Ronaldo kicked a penalty kick. Now he's scored in 5 World Cups. You know, it's a big deal. The really nice thing, it really worked out well. Portugal, it was tied 1-1. Ghana had just scored. Everyone's pumped. They're like, oh, upset time. And then Portugal scored 2 goals just in time for the Lions to kick off. Yes, you're turning off the World Cup. Got to get over to the Lions game. Not a sentence I thought I'd be saying very often, but I don't like soccer in general, but I do like the World Cup because it's one of the only soccer things for some reason where they actually have to win the game. You know, not trying to tie or draw or get total goals or it's just win or go home. I love that. So Mukilteo Football Show. Follow us on Twitter at MUK_football. YouTube, subscribe, share, review on Apple, Spotify, Anchor, wherever you get your podcasts. We've got shows Sunday after Sunday Night Football, Monday after Monday Night Football, Thursday after Thursday Night Football, and of course, Thanksgiving after Thanksgiving Football. 3 games to go through. So the format today will be a little different. Usually I kind of go over Thursday Night Football and then make my Week 12 picks with some more detailed analysis. This time I'm going to go through all 3 games, and then I'll just rapid fire my 4 games for the week 12 here. So let's start with the morning. 9:30 a.m. here on the West Coast. Hey, I love it. Detroit hosting the Buffalo Bills, who did fly home. We said not to do that. Rent out a lodge. They should have just stayed from Sunday to Thursday, and it showed in their performance. Not. Just kidding. So the Lions and Bills played a great game. This was a good one. I did not realize that both Lions interior guards were actually not going to play. And it was kind of interesting because it's like a puzzle piece that happened in this game here where the Lions' great tackles are healthy and playing while the Bills' edge defenders were hurt and out of the game. Meanwhile, the Bills' great defensive tackles, they were healthy and playing while the Lions guards on the offensive side were hurt. So it was like, it kind of fit like a puzzle piece. And that's what we saw on screen today on that side of the ball. But the story of the first half for me, as the Lions kept this a game, was the 4th downs. It was really 3 for 3 on 4th down. The graphics said 2 for 2 because one of the 4th downs was negated by penalty, but they did convert it. That was the one where it was, I think, on the first drive or maybe the second drive, they were inside the 10 and they ended up punching that in for a touchdown. The offsides penalty negated it, so it made it look like it wasn't a 4th down conversion, but the fact that they were going for it and that they got it, I give it to them. And then there was a 4th down that Dan Campbell went for later on his own 33 after the Bills had scored, kind of taking back control of the game. Campbell knew at this point, we cannot punt it back to Josh Allen. And then they got even further down there and went for it another 4 to make sure that they got a touchdown. So at half, it was 17-14. Had they taken the kicks, like Rex Ryan and Phil Simms surely would have wanted them to, the best it could have been was 14-3, losing 14-3. Probably would have been 17-3 or 21-3, depending on what the Bills did with their possession that they would have got had the Bills or the Lions just punted. What was the downside to going for it? And the funny thing is, not a mention from Bill Cowher or Boomer Esiason or Phil Simms, because those fourth downs were converted, so they just feel like part of the drive to them. What does that mean? That means that when they criticize the fourth downs that fail, what they're really criticizing is what they remember, their perception of the game, not the real numbers. Dan Campbell gained an advantage, and that advantage is there present in all the things that they criticize after the fourth down fails. This is the advantage. They just don't see it because it got converted, so they forget about it. Okay, I'll drop it. It was nice. Romo was on fire today, as he always is. He had him and Nance were talking about Madden a lot, and I love that. I love that Romo said he's got to sprinkle in a couple of booms, and he said, "Oh, or maybe I'll come up with my own version." Wapow! And then in the third quarter, on a big Jamal Williams run, he did do a boom and a wapow. I loved that. So the third quarter started 17-14. Von Miller got hurt there. That sucks, especially with Espinoza out, Greg Rousseau's out. So that pass rush strength, hopefully Von Miller's okay, but it didn't look good. It was carted off. And Josh Allen is he going to stay healthy? Slide, my man. Slide. Or at least don't lie directly on your elbows every time and your knees and just taking unnecessary hits. McDermott called him out with the sideline reporter. You don't see coaches make any substantial comments with those sideline reporters in between the quarters. But that between that first and second quarter, Sean McDermott said, Josh Allen needs to slide, basically. But this was a good game. Third quarter was wild. It was an interception by Allen. Then Jared Goff got sacked into a safety. And then the Bills gave it up again. And then the Lions had a field goal, a 29-yard field goal that they missed after Jim Nance completely jinxed it by literally saying, "Don't talk to me about announcer jinx. Michael Badgley hasn't missed a field goal this year." And boom, missed it. Setting the announcer jinx analytics back 1,000 years because no one's ever gonna let Jim Nance or any announcer forget that. That was hilarious. And in my day, I was having a little bit of trouble here because usually I start making my clam chowder. The family makes turkey, but I always bring clam chowder. I usually start doing that once the Lions game is out of hand. So I was kind of like, well, hold up. This is kind of still a game. So I had the laptop up and I was watching it while I cut up the potatoes and the onions. So in the end, great game. Bills go ahead with a Diggs touchdown. Lions tie it up. 3-point lead is a wobbly drive, a wobbly 57-yard field goal that faded in and drawed back. So you're thinking we got overtime. Bills only have 29 seconds to drive, and they totally did. Comfortable field goal from Josh Allen. That drive was amazing. It was a tough night for the Bills, but the Allen to Diggs connection, that 40-yard pass, that is something only a few quarterbacks in NFL history could throw that, could get the ball that fast down the field. It was amazing. That's a Marino, Elway, who else? Absolutely, Jeff George. No. Amazing throw by Josh Allen to set up the game-winning kick. So, and I got my onions cooking. The potatoes are diced. The clam juice entered in the potatoes to boil it. I don't know why I'm talking about my clam chowder recipe. As the next game got going, Dallas hosting the Giants, what is usually the most highly rated game of the regular season. This middle 1:00 Dallas game on Thanksgiving. It actually started with a referee moment where they called this bad ineligible man call on the Giants that negated a touchdown. I think that was the first drive, or maybe actually it was the second drive after the Cowboys went 4 and out or did a turnover on downs. And I'm just thinking, not this shit again. Because if you remember, last year, the Raiders-Cowboys game, again, in this most televised window, that was the most penalized game in 5 years. accepted penalties. That Cowboys-Raiders game last year in this spot on Thanksgiving. So I was thinking, not this again. But it did calm down. It leveled out. The Cowboys are just shooting themselves in the foot all first half. Fourth down fail that way referenced. Dak, couple interceptions. We're saying this is how the Giants do it. I don't know what juju they put on people, but this is how they do it. Even with Daniel Jones missing easy third down throws and punting it back, Dallas just can't get a hold of this game. At halftime, it's 13-7. And you're thinking, I don't know how this is happening. But at half, Dallas just took over. 3 drives, 3 touchdowns, something to see, something impressive. They really put themselves up for a real NFC contender today, at least in terms of our perception. The defense cracked down. Mike Parsons got his 11th sack of the season, got his 12th sack of the season. As he said, got to get seconds. Probably ceiling defensive player of the year for Parsons. I think, this, as I said, this game is heavily watched, and that matters. But the whole Dallas front looked great. As Madden would say, they get in there and they make bad things happen at your line of scrimmage. Something like that's a Madden line. The Giants didn't score until that final play of the game, which, goodness, was a gambler cry across the nation on that one. Both good and bad, obviously, as all gambling things are. That put the Giants and Cowboys over the 45.5 over, and it put the Giants within the spread. With the 9-point spread. So just so many cries out in that final 8 seconds, garbage time touchdown. But as I said, the football side of it, the Cowboys took control in the second half. The weird thing was not having Buck and Aikman on the call. It was like, it didn't even feel like Thanksgiving quite. Though I like Kevin Burkhardt. I'm warming up to Greg Olsen. He did have a great line about they were having their own Madden tribute, just like Romo and Nance were talking about all day. They were talking about the turducken, and they actually had a turducken in the booth. And Greg Olsen was saying, how did he do this? Did he eat it and talk? How did he make it not in the mic? If you hear me go silent a long while, you know what's happening. I love that. Later in NBC, I think they also had a turducken, or maybe it was a turkey. And Tony Dungy, just no idea what to do with that thing. Tony Dungy, more of a wine and cheese plate guy, I'm gonna guess. But I'm pumped this Madden thing is staying, and just that it feels right. It feels right. So Dallas, huge win. They take both games against the Giants. Not that I think the Giants are really gonna be hanging around here. I think this is the beginning of the fall. So by this point, we had eaten. We ate during the second half. It was kind of the perfect time as far as suspense throughout the 3 games today. Buffalo, Detroit, the whole game was good. Dallas, New York, only the first half was really suspenseful. Second half, the Cowboys just took control. That's when we ate. I wasn't even watching at that point for parts of it. Get caught up on it later. And then the final game, Vikings Patriots, was insanity. I mean, it was a crazy, crazy game. Finally got some time, to settle down into the couch. Got the turkey in me, got the gravy in me. Had some apple pie with some brown sugar crust on there. Just fabulous. And this game, first 2 drives were touchdowns. And of course, my Uncle Daryl here stopped up at the casino before Thanksgiving. Said, "Hey, I bet the first half under. I just need the first half to be under 21 points." And the first 2 drives are touchdowns. We're all like, I don't think this is going to happen. It's actually 16-16 at the half. Though we can't be too hard on Uncle Daryl. Kirk and I are recorded saying we thought both the Vikings and the Patriots would be running this ball, pounding this rock. I called out the T formation for Patriots. I just did not expect such a pass-heavy game. Both Cousins and Mac Jones had 20 attempts by the early third quarter. It was crazy. The Patriots were doing it with all sorts of guys. Jacoby Myers, Hunter Henry, Nelson Aguilar, Ramondre Stevenson, Devontae Parker. They all had big, 25 to 40 yard catches. Mac Jones had 382 yards in this game. This, including the setup. And I said it was 16-16. The Patriots got the ball with like a minute and a half and drove 70 yards for a field goal. That has not been the Patriots this year. We're supposed to be, drizzling off into a gravy glaze on the couch here. This game's too exciting. That's what I was saying. It's too exciting. Justin Jefferson's breaking the record for most receiving yards for a receiver in his first 3 seasons. A record that cannot be faked, cannot be fluked. It's an amazing one. He was already one of 3 receivers, Randy Moss and Odell Beckham Jr., who had 4,000 yards in their first 3 seasons. He had already hit that a couple weeks ago. Now he's the most. He passed up Moss on Thanksgiving. Go listen to my very first episode of this show, where I talk about my mom and my grandma and myself experience at the Randy Moss Thanksgiving Day. But anyway, Jefferson's got 7 more games to go. Yes, it's the passing era. Yes, there's a couple extra games here, but this is still something. Justin Jefferson, superstar. In the second half, right back to it. The Patriots, they drove and scored the opening drive. Vikings returned the kickoff. Patriots are driving again, a bomb to Parker. All sorts of stuff is going on this game. And that was when, so they got Patriots got that bomb to Devontae Parker. So it's tied at this point, I think 23-23. They're in the red zone, third down. They get what appears to be a touchdown to Hunter Henry, which was then reviewed and called incomplete. And I hated that call. I couldn't disagree with it more. It was Hunter Henry. He was crossing the goal line. The ball hits the ground a little bit. His hand appeared to be under it. And then he rolled over, and then he lost control of it way above the ground. He secured it after that. It was in fast motion. It was absolutely a catch. In terms of it when you see it, it was absolutely a catch. But even by the technical definitions, I think they missed this one. They had so much assumption about the camera angle that they were on and where the rest of the hand was that supposedly lost control. I think his fingers were under there. I think he had control the whole time. And Terry McAulay was such an asshole about it, using words like clearly when it was not clear. I'm just so tired of this gaslighting shit from the refs. Though I'm hard on the refs. I know that. Actually, I was hard on the refs today. I think it was the Lions game. You know how they do this new thing where it's been the last couple years, but after discussion on the field and they reverse something, that is not anytime they say that, that's because New York radioed into them and said, screw you, you stupid idiot. You need to reverse that. And so I'm always like, why do they have to phrase it as discussion on the field when it wasn't? And Kirk's watched it with me, and he made a good point that what are they supposed to say? After being told to screw myself and that I am a stupid idiot, the pass is incomplete. So good point. So I didn't like that call. But hey, my friend Anthony was in Vegas. He needs a parlay for Minnesota to win by 2.5. And what a game for in terms of his heart. Hopefully he's okay. I think I got some texts after him, but the NBC posted the graphic that said all 12 scores in this game were either lead changing or game tying. What a great game. But the things did not go the Patriots' way. After that Henry reversal, the Patriots kicked a field goal. The Vikings end up taking the lead later, aided by running into the kicker penalty. Belichick, he's going to kill the special teams coach on live television, or maybe on closed circuit television for New England. But because they gave up the kickoff return touchdown and then they ran into the kicker, which eventually led to the go-ahead touchdown, Adam Thielen, which honestly, that might as well count as a Justin Jefferson touchdown. Jefferson's running right, crossing across the line of scrimmage. There's 4 Patriots with him. They are not giving up this touchdown to Justin Jefferson, which is classic Belichick. Left Thielen open. They got that go-ahead. Patriots had a couple more chances, but ultimately floundered down. The Vikings find a way to win, the Viking way to win, which is through heart-stopping shenanigans. and improve to 9-2. Big day for the Bills, getting to 8-3, Cowboys to 8-3, Vikings to 9-2. They all have bridged themselves comfortably towards the playoffs here on Thanksgiving Day. All right, I know we're at the 20-minute mark, which is where we usually end, but I'm going to get some rapid fire picks in here for week 12. So let's start with the first game. The Bengals travel to Tennessee Titans land in a divisional game rematch. That was the crazy game last year. Titans had all those sacks, a record sacks, but the Bengals and Joe Burrow pulled it off, though I still contend it's more about the Bengals defense in that game than anything. And in the Raiders game, to be honest, and in the Chiefs game. The Bengals defense is not getting enough credit for last year's playoff run. But they aren't that defense this year. Not crushing it. Kind of worrisome what they did with the Steelers last week. And I think Tannehill for the Titans could be on a hot streak. You know, we've seen him get streaky, put together a couple games where he looks like one of the good quarterbacks of the league. And this game is basically a pick 'em here. Bengals favored by 1.5. I will take the Titans because I just don't believe in Bengals defense, and I think maybe Tannehill is on the start of a hot streak. All right, next game. The Falcons travel to the nation's capital, to the Washington Commanders, who are still overachieving with Taylor Heineke. They're going to keep him as a starter for morale purposes because Carson Wentz is a jerk. Ron Rivera says, well, he's the quarterback who's winning. Well, until he doesn't, right? God, this is a tough one because I don't want to trust either of these teams. Atlanta's rolling with the ground game. They're swinging wildly with what Mariota can add to that. Their ceiling is so capped. The Falcons' ceiling is just ridiculously capped, which is reflected in the line. Commanders are favored by 4. I think, when in doubt, I always bet on the thing to not continue. So I think the Commanders' luck runs out here. I don't want to count on the Falcons, but I think that we're due for a Heineke absolute meltdown. All right, next game. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers travel to Cleveland for the Cleveland Browns. My real advice is don't bet this game at all. Talk about the Commanders and Falcons as unreliable. The Bucs and Browns are an absolute roller coaster in their last month or so. I mean, who knows what we're going to get from either of these teams. The Buccaneers, maybe they'll be able to run the ball a little bit. They get a nice help on the linear narrative with this matchup because every team's been able to run against the Browns. Then again, it's Jacoby Brissett's last game. Maybe there's some sort of motivational boost that the team brings for that. I don't know. Brady is back. This is his 50th game for Tampa Bay, including the playoffs. And he's 34-15 with 97,000 passing yards and 108 touchdowns in his age 43 to 45 seasons. I did not see this coming. In fact, I am on record saying that Buccaneer Brady would be similar to Chargers Unitas. Well, I'm wrong all the time. This is amazing what Brady is doing. It's in Cleveland. Bucs favored by 3.5. I will take the Bucs to do this. It just seems like we're about to start talking about the Bucs midseason issues as a thing of the past. All right, last game. Some old slot machines. I will be in Las Vegas for the next 2 episodes, so forgot to say that. But I guess you'll find out when you hear those episodes. Sunday Night Football. Green Bay going to Philadelphia. Eagles favored by 7 in primetime against Aaron Rodgers. I'm nervous about this line for the Eagles. That everyone's talking about the end of the Thursday night game between the Packers and Titans. The game was there for Aaron Rodgers. And he missed the throws. And I agree with that. I think he doesn't do that this time. I think he doesn't do that. And I'm not super confident in the Eagles. The loss to the Commanders in week 9, week 10, the morale loss to the Colts in week 11 when they only won by 1, that did not come out of nowhere. all season long, the Eagles have gotten up early and just unexplicably become unproductive. It's been happening all the time. Jalen Hurts can't do this for an extended period of time. He is a great quarterback and he's playing so well with a great team, but when he needs to take over, he's not really doing it. And so I worry about that. I'll take the Green Bay to cover this 7. Like, give me a touchdown for Green Bay against a team that just got 1 point over the Colts. I'll take it. All right. We'll be back Sunday, Monday to talk more about Week 12. Thanks for tuning in. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody, and good night.